watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John. My co-host is Andy, and we are talking Survivor 47, Episode 11. Andy, it is American Thanksgiving, and it occurs to me that I don't know if your Thanksgiving uses the same foods as ours. Like, I'm not entirely sure of the origin story of your Thanksgiving. Like, does Justin Trudeau give a pardon to a turkey? Do you know that that's a thing that we do here? Like, I have questions about Canadian Thanksgiving.
Honestly, let's get into it because I don't know. There's a lot of Survivor stuff to talk about. So yeah, I'm aware of most of your traditions because your pop culture just permeates everywhere through mine. It's the phrase of living next to America is like sleeping next to an elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be friendly, but you know, when it moves, it'll affect you. Our Thanksgiving is largely, I believe, based on seeing that you guys had this holiday called Thanksgiving and being like, why don't we do that? Minus the uncomfortable pilgrim stuff.
I mean, you know, because you guys do have a stellar history regarding treatment of indigenous populations. So
compared to exactly one country in the world, it's actually a lot better.
Yeah, so
well, just basically, we didn't have that meal. We didn't sit them down
Right.
and have a meal and give them smallpox. We just did that in smaller doses, like everything Canadian. But yeah, so I legitimately believe that we were just copying you guys, but then refined, because it makes no sense to me, and maybe not to you either, that like the two biggest family holidays on your calendar are like a month apart.
Right. It's very weird. Do you do the whole pardoning a turkey thing?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Is turkey the central protein of the Canadian?
Yeah. The foods are mostly the same, other than, you know, regional differences. You know, like they're in the ways that they are probably different, region to region in the United States. Frankly, what we're probably most similar to would be Midwestern Thanksgiving, which I mean is kind of what Thanksgiving is in so many, but we're not doing collard greens or anything like that.
Oh, it would delight me if it was like you did turkey and poutine.
I mean, obviously, all families have their own little things, so you know, and I mean, much like your own country, we have diverse regions, but
Sure.
You know, the commercials have the same stuff. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Turkeys and stuffing and, you know, a bunch of beige food.
If this were a video podcast, I'd do the more you know graphic right now. But, all right, let's talk some Survivor instead. How did you like this episode?
This was not a good episode of television. It was boring and bad. And not in a way that like upsets me, in a way that is just like it sometimes be like that and you just kind of have to roll with it. But in a way that certainly having more of it certainly didn't help, you know.
I mean, I think considering how little they had to work with, given how obvious the boot was, I think they did fairly well. Like, Tribal was way too long. There's no way that we needed that much discussion. But,
everything was.
Right. I mean, it's just, you could tell. It was like, okay, we know what's going down here, and I can see where this road ends.
I felt I knew what was going down about 15 minutes into this thing, and then it was just a sludge getting through it, because frankly, like, they give us the confessional with Carolyn and her describing, like, you know, why she did what she did and the personal motivations for it. I'm like, hey, you know, this is a solid little thing, the personalizing moment. And then they proceed to give us like about 3 more personalizing moment for people. I'm like, oh, I see what we're doing here.
Exactly.
And
we're developing these minor stories because, you know,
there is no story.
Is not going to carry the night.
Yeah, and this is like when I get to that this was a bad episode. Again, I agree. Like, they worked hard to try to make lemonade out of what they had. But if you just told somebody, oh, what happened on Survivor? Kyle didn't win immunity. The rest you can fill in, and nothing else of consequence really happened. It was just one of the most inconsequential episodes of Survivor ever. And again, I'm not going to complain because it's just sometimes the big target has to go, and that's just what happens.
Right. I mean, it's fitting that it happened around Thanksgiving time because it did just feel very like necessary, right? Like maybe not everyone's excited about it, but it's like, all right, we got to do this. So yeah, that was a perfect Thanksgiving episode. And apologies.
See, but I feel like what they used to give us for Thanksgiving episodes is like double boots and stuff,
Yeah.
And maybe that's because they'd also give us like 2. And that's the other thing. Like, this just happens a lot on Survivor. I'd argue probably most seasons, maybe fewer of recent seasons just because people flip flop so much. But generally, yeah, you get to a point where it's like, yeah, this is the obvious boot. It's time for the obvious boot, and everybody does the obvious boot. And I feel like it was always a struggle to fill. And that was true when it was 42 minutes.
Right.
And now, and look, I'm mostly not stopped. Like, there's no point in complaining about it. This is the way Survivor's going to be now. And, the editors have gotten pretty good. And I built my own reps so I can sit through it. But it's like, I actually feel like as the seasons start to wind down, that extra time is often really unneeded. The storylines are already set. We've gotten to know these characters. They don't have much to do. There's fewer of them to focus on. But we still got to smell these commercials, so I guess we're going to be watching.
That's right. Hey, and not really a point that we meant to address, but looking forward, we did get news that the finales can be broken up over 2 weeks now, and it's going to be 2 hours each time, which is a lot, A, but also B, sitting there for 3 hours of a finale is rough for me, a person who never watches movies. Like that's a time commitment. So, like all things related to Survivor, I'm like, I'll see how this one plays out. Like I have a feeling that, second week where we're just probably going to get basically a winner reveal and like the reunion is not gonna be much, but regardless, I'm good with not having to sit there for 3 hours on one night because that is a slog. So
yeah, I'm not sure which is better. It could just be like, again, I agree. I've never really enjoyed the 3-hour finale. Usually buoyed by the fact that the reunion is part of it, and those are often just god awful. But we're also taking what was tough to watch in 3 hours and turning it into 4 hours of programming.
Yeah.
Now stretched over 2 nights, but right. I would. I wish they'd go in the other way. If I'm being honest.
Yeah. But again, I'm gonna give them.
Yeah. I'll be watching.
We'll see how it plays out. So yeah, let's I guess go back to some episode talk because yes, of course, this was the easy vote, right? Like vote out Kyle, and I get that. Over the past several seasons, especially, there's been a lot of times where people are like, oh, easy vote, it's time to, do something stupid instead. Like, no, there does come a time, though, when the easy vote is easy because it's the right vote. And this was absolutely the right vote, which I'm assuming you agree with because why would it not be the right vote?
Yeah, I mean, we were advocating for it 2 weeks ago. It'd be just classic, devil's advocate to be like, no, this is foolish. No. I get the arguments that were being made largely by people who were trying to get them to not vote for Kyle at all. And yeah, the other people was like, what about Genevieve? It's just like, yeah, will he win everything? No, but he doesn't need to win everything if you keep not voting for him, Right. This was the second time that he didn't win. It's time. And yes, the Probst talked about, I believe wrongly said, like only half of the people who've won, tied for the most wins ever, 5 have won. And that's not true. There's been 6 people, and you helped me with this math. Not the math. The math I figured out on my own. But the stats. So yeah, there's 6 men who have won 5 immunity challenges. 2 of them won the entire season. and 4 did not, right? So that's a third, and that's not half. That's just
Right.
quick math. Now, half of them did lose at Final Tribal Council, so only one was voted out as a result. But I still think, for one, that's still not a very big number to be basing decisions on. 6 instances of this. And Kyle isn't just a guy who's winning immunity. Like Brad Culpepper was one of them, and they were like, whatever. Ozzy was one, and he came damn well close to winning, right?
Right.
And then the other one that lost was Colby way back when, right?
Yeah.
He was also a really well-liked person from everybody but one person on this cast. He also like had the story that like, I mean, we have evidence as recently as the season right before this that at least some jurors will base their vote on financial need. And moreover, I don't think there's like an impressive player that would be like, oh, I don't care how many immunities you won. You didn't play as well as Sarah or like Yul. Like, I don't know who else is standing out anyway. So yes, take the shot now. Because here's the thing. In the 2 that he lost, he was in second place in both of them too. Like,
Right.
I don't know where Andy got his statistics from and the math that he did. And I'm certainly not going to double check it, but take the shot.
Yeah. So the fun thing, because you brought up Andy's math, it was wrong, but also wrong in wrong in ways that made it more right, because he was basically giving Kyle a 50-50 shot at winning immunity, which
Every time.
right, which is more weight than he should be given if it was even odds. But like realistically, probably closer to the truth. Like Kyle probably had more like a 50-50 chance to win immunities. So ultimately, he was probably kind of close on the numbers. But yeah, that's not how you would generally calculate that.
Yeah. And the other problem is if you're thinking like, well, he win everything he needs to get to the end. It's like, okay, but that's nice for like the person that outlasts him or the 3 people. What about the person that had to go home because you couldn't vote out Kyle that night? Like
Right.
you just do it. And again, like I said, frankly, his worst challenge performance was one that he won. It was when he came in 3rd and yet still got a win. Other than that, like he was right there with Gabe, and he was 1 letter away on this one. Obviously, being 1 letter away doesn't always make actually not even 1 letter. He was like a few steps away from winning this one, right?
Already on there.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah. You think everything through. You definitely talk it through so that the show will have footage, but there was no other decision. And even like the idea like Genevieve is dangerous. It's like, yeah, but okay. For one, I'm not sure that she is. We can get to that in a second.
Yeah, we will.
But for 2, she's more likely to be available for a vote one of the next 2 than Kyle was. So it's like, you got to vote out both of them. Take out Kyle now when you can. It's boring, but it's true.
And just to put this in perspective, True Dork Times, who we should shout out, that is where we got our stats from. Jeff Pittman there compiles stats on immunity challenges. Kyle now that he's voted out, is now number 1 all time in challenge performance finishes, which is pretty impressive. So again, like I said earlier, when Andy was doing the odds, like, yeah, you have to rate his odds of winning the challenge at much better than 1 in 6 or 1 in however many people are left, because he's done quite well at these. So, yeah.
In a variety of different ways,
Yes, exactly. That's the thing, is there are different types of challenges, and maybe you catch him on a challenge that you could beat him. But also, as you said earlier, you're just giving him immunity anyway by not voting him out. So
yeah, maybe you can beat him 1. Yeah, you can. You just did. Yeah. This is the time, And you let 1 go through so that you could execute a brilliant Saul plan. But, maybe not again.
That Saul plan. Let's talk Genevieve, because Genevieve had an interesting suggestion as far as what the strategy should be going forward. She decided, along with 2 other people, hey, what if we basically start taking out the goats, the pawns? What do you think of Genevieve's strategy suggestion?
What's the phrase? A day late and a dollar short? Like I get it. You got to think of something. You got to propose something. But you can't propose, let's form an overdog alliance when there aren't that many overdogs left. And you yourself are the architect of one of them not being there.
Also, weird position to take because, at this point, is she an overdog? Because
that's how the other group was framing it. And like, really, her?
Right. We'll get to that in a minute. But like, it's an interesting position to take. She's like throwing out Andy's name. It's like, no, Andy's actually done things to improve his position in the game, whereas you've done the exact opposite. But, in general, though, I do appreciate the idea of overdogs going after the pawns. You and I are both
big proponents of it.
Yes, we're in favor of that happening. I loved when it was suggested in Winners at War. I don't know that you could point to a specific season where it actually worked as a long-term strategy, but like in the short term, great. I love it. It makes for more entertaining TV. Here's the problem with this one though. And my guy, Stephen Fishback, pointed this out on Blue Sky, but like,
oh, he's on there.
I know. Yeah. So that's the problem. It's like,
yeah,
I mean,
I know there's a lot of talk about like the impressive 3 that are outside of this underdog alliance. It's like 3?
Yeah.
I feel like you're inflating that number by, 2.
Right. Because it's, like I can understand Kyle being considered a threat, right?
Yes.
But like
he is.
Genevieve and Sam, though, like Genevieve, her big move absolutely sunk her game. And Sam, what the fuck has Sam done?
He made an alliance with Sierra. Yeah, no, like honestly, in some ways I should give it more to Genevieve because like people are talking like she's a threat. She did execute a move, one of the most self-destructive moves in the history of Survivor. And as I pointed out at the time, really not that impressive to do. Well, hey, you guys want to all vote with me to get rid of my alliance partner?
Yes.
Ooh, what dexterity and gameplay you have. Sure. Instead of you voting out one of us, let me hold up. I don't know if I can follow your master plan as much. So we can do something that's in our best interest and not in your interest at all. Well, okay. What a master manipulator. But yeah, Sam, he just looks the part. That's it.
Right. It's just like, I don't know that there's even evidence that Sam is coming close in these challenges. I mean, I could go back.
No. I think he did okay in the reward challenge last week, but that was,
he was
copying off of Kyle. Yeah, it sounds like he didn't do as well as Gabe. Like, it sounds like Gabe really like smoked that thing. Just there was no time. Yeah, that's it. Like, that's all I can point to. Other than that, yeah, he's young, tall, male, and athletic, and none of that has really helped in any way.
Right.
And so then it's like, oh, what a social game. And it's like, yeah, the guy does seem charming. He has 0 allies. What are we doing here? And I get it. I get that the underdogs say that because they're just like us, but it's like, oh, all of those are threats. I don't know that they actually are.
Right.
So.
Also, you mentioned Gabe smoking it, and I have to point out that when that man came out at Tribal Council, I was like, he looks like he's a Cypress Hill. He absolutely looks like he's like doing Be Real cosplay or something. Like, what was this?
I mean, it could be his culture. It'd be worse if Sam came out like that.
I mean, we got to, also, I dropped the ball last week in not discussing Saul's fashion choices because like the shirtless vest look was A+.
Yeah, disappointing that he wore the shredder underneath this time. I get it. Like, and he probably really cold last time, so I get it. But
I do wonder if he went out to that. Oh, also there was like, he's probably like wearing that last time and like, yeah, this is a look. And then got out there and was like, oh, I just uncomfortable though. And so you can see like the decision-making process, like, well, it would be fun to do it again, but let's throw on a shirt this time.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so like I understand why Genevieve did that. You got to do something. You got to think of a way to fracture it, but it's like it's too late for that. You can't go to a bunch of under the radar players and it's like we better watch out for those under the radar players. And it's regular. If this is where you want, you could have just been an under the radar player though, Genevieve. And that's continuing from last week is that she's still talking about like this horrible position that she's in, that she can't do anything. And it's just like, what did you think was going to happen? That when the exit interview comes in the next 2 weeks, I will not be reading them. But if somebody does and wants to like send me the excerpt, I want to know what she thought was going to happen. Not her like justifications of why she thought she needed to get rid of Saul in that moment. What did she think was going to happen after she got rid of Saul?
Right. What were the steps down the line? Because I mean, I remember we talked about it when it happened. Like, did you plot this one out at all past the vote? Because sure, you could organize this vote, but like, was there any thought about what the morning after looks like?
Yeah. So yeah, I get, but it's just like it's too late for that. Now what you should be doing is like, let's give her to Kyle, like pushing for that.
Right.
And they're talking about her, and like, yes, Rachel is worried about her. Largely, I feel like residual. Like she was somebody to worry about 2 votes ago, and Teeny is talking about her, but that's on a more personal level. But like Genevieve is completely neutered. She has no power or danger if everybody knows that she's potentially dangerous. A player like her is only dangerous when nobody suspects, kind of the way Rachel is currently, or possibly Caroline.
There you go.
But since everybody is already worried about her, since they've already kind of kept her on the out, I mean, yeah, vote her out in the next little bit because you got to vote out somebody. But the idea that she was more threatening than Kyle is laughable.
Yeah, it's just funny because like the way that she would be a threat is if she was the type of person that could, organize an alliance and get a vote together. The problem is no one wants to align with her because she's shown more than once that she's very willing to turn on people that she aligned with. And I think everyone's like, yeah, I don't want to sign up to be the third one fooled by that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at best, she's hoping to be a vote with somebody else.
Yeah. The only people that Genevieve has been dangerous to are her own allies.
Exactly.
And guess what? She doesn't have any of those anymore.
That's what I'm saying. And who's going to sign up for that, having seen what she's done before? So,
And I suppose the person that she's been dangerous to is herself.
Well, yes. But no one cares if she's going to sink her own game.
That's right. And isn't it ironic, don't you think?
I do. It's like 10,000 spoons when what you needed, a knife. Let's shift subjects here. Sue. First, quick thing. We did get a fan mail reaction.
Yeah, I was going to actually read it out, but you go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't have it in front of me, so you
Okay.
can read it out.
Yes. Yes. Talking about Sue. This came in after the podcast. Hi. Really enjoy your show and perspectives. Thank you. Including the snark. This is really just setting up for the second half of this, though. But some of the Sue snark in the last episode got a little ageist / misogynist. To be honest, I don't love her either, but it's not because of how old she is or whatever plastic surgery she's had done. Parentheses. Since we live in a world that does not like women to visibly age, close parentheses. To that I say I agree. Yeah. I mean, clearly a listener and not a commenter, which is cool. That's actually the bigger portion of our audience. I intimated as such in comments right after we posted the podcast. Like, I think I went too far.
You did.
And some people were like, no, you were good. But I agree with this person. Some of the language was unfortunately chosen.
Yeah.
A couple, and like I'll just straight up, yeah, I was wrong for that. Like I'm not apologizing because I still don't like Sue. I don't think she listens. I hope not. B, I don't like her, so it's like I really dislike you, but I'm sorry. No, it was just I shouldn't have used, like, honestly, strip out 5 words and
Right.
or maybe not even 5, probably 2 or 3, and I'm good. And yeah. I do want to clarify a couple of things. Some of it is because we hint at but dance around like political things. When I was registering a lot of displeasure about her demographic, it wasn't that she was older or that she was a woman. I understand if that's how you interpret it based on the other things I said. It's that the demographic that I was sick of and probably thus going too far, which isn't an excuse, just a reason, is white women Trump voters. That was kind of where so I was pulling some other things. But yeah, and then the other thing is myself personally, and I think you too, but I'll only speak for myself. And I should also cop, it's all me, it wasn't you. Usually the line,
Dramatic.
Yeah, in this specific instance. Usually the line we draw is, we'll criticize these people because we view them and speak of them as characters on a TV show, not about the people that we are, because we can't pretend to know the people that they are. And while like there's a line that like you could argue that the age thing is all in response to her ridiculous claim of being 45. The story was all about her, crazy, probably misplaced anger. When you use kind of some of the language, I called her a hag. That wasn't called for. That feels a little bit more personal. So that's usually a place that I try to avoid so that I don't have to worry about like talking about an actual human being who I don't know at all and can't pretend to know based on the edited presentation of the TV show, based on even like social media interviews and stuff. These people are not people we know, and we usually just talk about them like they're characters, not people. So yeah, no, I agree. Thanks for calling me out on that. 100%.
Yeah, we usually try to criticize the actions rather than the person.
Yeah, and again, where it kind of split is the actions I was criticizing is kind of, again, I will keep coming back to this. 45 is just insane.
Yeah.
Again, I say that as a 47-year-old man. That's where I'm coming from. If you're like in your 30s, they're all old, right? But like, no, she's not that. Again, she might look good for her real age. She does not look good for 45. That's the call again. And then the other thing is like, the way that she just kept railing on Kyle, and will probably also set me off as her complaining about him always talking about being poor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into that for this week. So we're at the mat. And Jeff is like, talks, and then Kyle's just kind of giving his perspective, like how proud he is, and then, where he came from and all of that. And Sue has a moment, and Jeff's like, Sue, that caused a reaction. And then she shares like a personal, like, I think I'm really overcoming stuff. Not, of course, being able to say what a great accomplishment she's had as an older competitor, because she's not that old, apparently. Did you get the impression, because this is where I was, when she made that, like, bowed her head reaction, she was like, this fucking guy and his poor shit again. Like, that's what she was doing, right?
Absolutely. That was what I thought, based on, like, we saw her complaining about how, Kyle says he's poor at the whole montage thing last week. Like, it just seems like she really looks down on him. And so, which was why her whole one-sided feud with him was fucking hilarious. Like, her biggest goal in this game that we know of, the one that she has espoused the most like enthusiasm for, is crushing the dreams of a working class vegetarian who grew up in foster care. That is the thing she has been waiting for, Andy.
Yeah, and she's like, self-satisfied about, yes, I got you, bitch.
And like, exactly, if you watched that person in a fucking Disney movie, you'd be like, well, that's the villain, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how else you can like see some of her reactions and the things that she said and not be like, damn, really? Like, well, why? Like, I get not liking Kyle, because there's certain people that just, they're going to rub you the wrong way, whatever. But just like the way that she has talked about him and the absolute like steadfast focus she's had on getting him out of the game and like just belittling him just seems like, oh, that seems wildly out of proportion with him having voted for you once.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so like I'm still like, I don't like the character. I'm not. I want to see her fail. All of that. Yeah, I just gotta use gender neutral terms and all of that.
Well,
and age. Again, the 45 thing. I'm not never gonna get over that. But here's a thought I had when watching the episode, because the other point of conversation last week was like, how dirty her face is all the time.
Yeah.
And many astute observers realized she freshened up for tribal councils. She was ready for this party.
Like, you knew Kyle was going home at that point, because Sue, washed herself up. She's got a little glow up moment for her big villain turn. Like, hooray. This is
well, and the thing is, of course, she does not see herself as a villain at all. No. Kyle is a villain. He called her Tweedledum, for Christ's sakes.
Sure.
Yeah, and the theory that we espoused last week, which I want to make clear was not my own, not because I'm embarrassed by it, I just don't deserve the credit for it, was like maybe she was using the dirt for contouring. I had another thought watching this episode, and some of it came from the previously on Survivor. You remember when she got caught red-handed and she had to wash herself off really quickly?
Yeah.
And then she had to wash again when she like touched the idol again another time because she just whisked it away. It was still in the paint.
Right.
And both times she was washing herself with well water, and like a lot of commenters, ourselves included, be like, but there's an ocean just right there. Maybe she legit just not like going into the ocean. Like, I think she probably has. I think we've probably seen her like in group shots when everybody's washing themselves off from like a mud challenge or whatever. Right. But maybe just in general, that's just not a place she wants to be, and thus she doesn't do it very often. Frankly, that honestly might be a more, logical explanation than like using dirt as makeup.
It would also be pretty wild to have an ocean phobia and then go on Survivor set in Fiji. But
yeah, but it'd be wild to go on Survivor when you're allergic to almost all food. Like true. People just do these things. So
it's very true.
But yeah, so like I'm not excited that she won. It was going to happen, and then she gets to act like she's a big winner. It's like yeah, sure. Get to feel like you enacted your revenge. People voted out Kyle because they were afraid he would beat them, and people are not voting out you for the exact opposite reason. Yeah, you can treat this like a victory if you want. I suppose it technically is, but you did nothing here.
One thing, obviously the Kyle thing didn't surprise me in the least, but one thing that kind of did is that, Caroline was pretty confident that she had burnt that bridge with Sue, and she's like, oh, I gotta mend this thing. And I had said last week, like, I'm shocked having seen, how Sue acts about any bridge burning. She doesn't seem like the most forgiving person. And so I was pretty stunned that it seemed like it didn't take a whole lot of convincing for Caroline and Sue to just make right back up. Were you surprised?
No, I kind of thought that's what was going to happen. And we talked about last week, wow, it's crazy. You just see what Genevieve did and it's like, sign me up for that. But I did think the circumstances were different. For one, I think the relationship with, Caroline and Sue at this point is a lot more than the relationship with like Kyle and Sue was at the instance. But I think also like, what's Sue going to do? Where's she got to go? She hasn't really cultivated any relationships. We saw a bit with Andy last week, but that's it. So it's kind of like she kind of has to forgive at this point. Now, like the forgiveness seeming genuine, I think it's the other thing. Like Carolyn had ways to explain it, and I didn't anticipate all of it. He was like that he's a threat to us, but I think when you get those reasons, and then probably what was maybe left unshown, but maybe not unsaid, is that like I left you out so that you didn't have to vote for him, because I didn't want to put you in that position. But I feel like. Yeah, I figured Caroline would have a much better chance of smoothing things over with Sue, just because of the part where we are at the game, the limited options Sue has. I mean, I guess if she's just fueled by spite, but she still had Kyle there to be angry at, so I suppose like that's where all her venom is pointed towards.
Yeah, but I also want.
Who knows? Maybe Kyle could have made up with her if he had any fucking idea that she hated him so much.
Well. Right. Like if she had
probably
ever
not
to him with like the thing like, oh, someone said you called me Tweedledum. Is that true? And you've been like, no, I don't even think about you.
Why that's crazy. That? Right. Why would somebody do that? I'm feeling froggy. It's so amazing that she's sitting there shit-eating grin like, haha, the evil is defeated. While this man is up there like sincerely telling everybody like that, love is the answer and like, give me a hug, you know?
Thanks for everything, buddy. Oh, speaking of the hugs, what the fuck? With like, is that like the third hug that Probst has gotten on the way out this season? Like,
yeah, it feels like it's become a thing, and it's almost like he's aware of it, right? Like apparently in his podcast, and we only know this from our commenters stick with the plan. It's like, no, I'm part of their journey, but if it starts to feel like it's a bit, it's like, well, it's getting close there. Yeah. At the same time, I don't know how you'd refuse Kyle. Like he's just the sweetest man in the world.
Right. And
if you don't like him, I feel like it says more about you.
Well, the one thing though is like, at a certain point, I was like, all right, we need the little like Oscars music when your speech is going on too long. Because after you get it out, it's like, all right, let's just wrap it up. We get the idea. Like you've made your point. You're a great guy. Have a nice
like Gabe. What a hero.
Right? Come on.
But I do genuinely, I think it's genuine,
Oh, yeah.
And like feeds back, like last week we were talking, and at first you just kind of took what Sue said at face value, that he was talking about how poor he was. I'm assuming now, based on what we saw in this episode, all Kyle's been doing is talking about like his lived life. And she's just like, fuck this guy with this poor stuff. Well, if I have to hear one more time they grew up in like, foster care. It's like, again, it's probably just a human being talking about their life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like if someone else is talking about growing up, but that story doesn't include foster care, it's like, oh, good. They're not rubbing their poor in my face. Like, what? Anyway, let's get back to the Underdog Alliance, which is only possible because Caroline and Sue do make up. So they are now 2/5 of this Underdog Alliance. We see all the people standing around the water well. They're like, what about us? Us against, us 5 against those other 3. We're the underdogs. And it's like, I mean, sure. Marketing is great. Like, I studied Russian history. Call yourself the Bolsheviks. Sure, it makes sense. You are the majority. Right. But, to call yourself the underdogs when you basically have a super majority at this point, like, admittedly, you're Canadian, but you know enough about American politics. Like, if the conservatives in the U.S. Supreme Court called themselves the underdogs, that would be pretty fucking weird, right? Since the majority in, like, their majority specifically makes them the favorites in any case, right? So the fact that you've got 5 is going to make you the overdog by definition against 3 in this game.
Yeah, and as we touched on before, like of those 3, like only one of them's like a true winner threat at this point, Like again, if you fuck around and let Sam do some impressive things between now and then, he could get there. But as of this moment, the guy's been neutered like for 3 votes. Like, is he really an underdog? Again, one of you was supremely concerned about Rachel being a threat. Now that's not a thing. And now look, man, you're standing near 4 other people, yes, make an alliance with them and trying to find a common bond. But like, I don't really actually think they are the underdogs. But look, first time in human history that like the majority population act like the aggrieved party, right? Mm-hmm. That's just not a thing that happens very often.
Nope.
But it's just like, I don't have a problem with this, underdog alliance. I feel like it's kind of commonplace now in Survivor, but I have a problem with, and it's kind of been, just a commentary on the season as a whole. It's like, these are your overdogs. Like, yeah, I can't.
Right.
I kind of feel like there hasn't been any this season. Like even Kyle, like, is just mostly for challenges and being sweet. Like, and he's not an impressive Survivor player. Nope. I feel like that was enough to make him stand out here. But it's like, man, if there were impressive players this season, you guys got rid of him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Last week even with Gabe, which I think would qualify at least because he played the role, but he wasn't that impressive. So.
Not at all.
Yeah. And that also tells me that I don't know that this alliance is gonna like hold. I can see them holding another, like, oh, we got to get rid of one of those 2, keep this thing going. But it shouldn't take too long when they start looking. It's like Rachel's more dangerous than whichever of Sam or Genevieve is hanging around, or we got to watch out for Andy. He's flipping around a lot, or
right. Well, one thing that could potentially make Rachel seem more dangerous to them is that Rachel went off on a little quest this week. She got a new advantage, and like one of the, international Survivor nerds can let us know. But I think this is actually a thing they've done on one of those, like Australia or something like that. So her her advantage is that she can block a vote, which, I don't know, tell me your impression here. My first thought was like, this seems like even less power than stealing a vote. Like,
well, it's definitely less power than stealing one.
What, like, stealing a vote was also already not that powerful. So
yeah,
I
would say like it's Close to an extra vote, in that it's a net +1 advantage. But yeah, steal vote should be net +2, right?
Right.
That,
I mean, steal
you know,
vote is like a legit advantage.
that's never really paid, or hardly ever paid off.
Right.
Yeah, no, like as soon as it's like we found out what the advantage was, it's like that is not equivalent to the threat of losing a vote.
No.
Look, oh man, I'm glad they had this segment. It might have been the most interesting part of the night. The actual, like, the challenge itself, well constructed, interesting, visually pleasing. Like that's all A+ stuff. And normally people will rail like, oh, we have these annoying little side quests, and it's distracting from the story. And that was probably more true when it was 42 minutes. But I'm like, God, thank God they gave somebody something to do with this one. Otherwise, we're about to get some more like Sam's tragic backstory of not eating fruit or something like that.
Well, as you mentioned, like this one was really well designed. Like I've complained about parts of the past several seasons where it's just, I think, did you think through what this was going to be like on TV? And this felt like one where they definitely did, right? Like it was visually dramatic. Like it was very cool. Like you could hear the weights dropping into the ocean. Like the table's going to slide at the end. Like it really felt like it added some visual drama.
Yeah, and she legit got it to the last second.
Yes,
so
she
like
did.
it had
And
that.
so, like, in that case, this was a time when they like thought of something and they executed it. It really did make for good TV. So
Yeah, and again from the recap we get of Probst podcast, like that really was motivated by like what is more visually compelling for television, because like sand and Hourglass does the job. It tells you how much time, but it's not that interesting, right? So is there a way that we can make the ticking of time more interesting? And yeah, man, they nailed it. It's just all for block of vote. Like it's not that the block of vote couldn't come in handy. Certainly there's you can play it till 6 if you're at 6 and it's 3-3 loggerheads. Well, now it's not, right? But it's not, I think, we're given how little any form of one extra vote has mattered, it's less likely to be anything, and frankly more likely to just be an albatross for Rachel. Like she probably should have just blown it, this tribal,
right?
Just so, because it's more likely to harm her. That just makes this alliance of 5 makes her the tallest blade of grass within that 5 than it is to help her,
right? And I think realistically, they do know about her advantage. At least the people that she cares to know about her advantage. So I'm guessing that she's smart enough. She's going to play it as early as she can, preferably while Genevieve and Sam are still in the game and potential targets, just so you can get out of there. Because you've got to realize that this thing just, there's so limited the circumstances in which it could possibly like help you. So
it's just not worth making people concerned about you over.
Right.
And like a way that would have worked here is if they were concerned at all about an idol, then you just use it to help split votes. But it was just plainly obvious that Kyle didn't have an idol. So then it probably wasn't worth it. So next time it's like, what if Genevieve or Sam have an idol now? Oh, then one of them won't be voting and we're good to go. We just need to split the vote, frankly, 4-1.
Right. And I think the other problem is, the way that things have gone lately. Like it just seems like in more recent seasons, the general trend is like, if you don't have enough votes to potentially challenge, you just go in with the group that's, in the majority, right? Like Sam last week was like, well, I couldn't save Saul. So I'm just, or not Saul, but Gabe, I'll just vote him out. And, I feel like that's a common thing, right? Like if at this point, if you're not going to win the vote, then you just, I'll just go along with the majority then, rather than staging any sort of like, let's get this close. So yeah, ultimately that the odds of that thing working out are just not going to be worth it.
Speaking of like only hyper situationally useful advantages, I like when Probst was like, so you guys all went back playing without a shot in the dark. What was that like? And it's like, I don't know, like 39 other seasons of Survivor, Jeff. Like it's,
well,
we could deal.
Also, man, like another advantage that involves like essentially taking away someone's vote, right? Like the myriad ways that this show has come up with to stop people from voting. Like there's just fucking rename the show disenfranchisement at this point. Like it's gotten so obsessed with taking votes away from people. And I don't think that that's adding to the
It's a
show.
commentary on American democracy.
Well, yeah,
John.
exactly. That too. But yeah, ultimately, you know, I'm going to give it time to see, but I think this would be a dud of an advantage.
Yeah. Now, advantage aside, I actually think at this exact moment in time, Rachel is the best position player remaining, which could flip and make her the most dangerous player and harm her. But right now, it seems like she's in the catbird seat. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I did mention they know about her advantage. They don't know about her idol. As far as we know, I don't think anybody knows about it.
No.
Right. So, I mean, you know, actually, no one other than Caroline knows about Sue's. So the two idols that are active in the game, one person knows about one of them. So, yeah.
And there's the idol holders themselves. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And we got in the preview for this episode, the previously on, like we got mention of both of those idols, so leads me to believe they might come into play sometime soon.
Maybe the previously on was also just stretching for material this week.
Could have been.
But yeah, if you look at Rachel right now, there's like 7 players left in the game, and she's kind of has shots at being a third with 3 different groupings of 2. Right. So we see Sue and Caroline come to her, and it helps that she went to them first with this advantage knowledge. That really seemed to play well with Sue. Teeny and Andy somehow are now united. And yeah, they were discussing plans with Rachel. And then like when Genevieve's trying to do something, and that Rachel is the person, again, that they show that she goes to. We don't know that the plan wasn't discussed. I suspect, the plan to get rid of these goats and Andy and Sue were not discussed with Andy and Sue. Just because.
You don't think?
Yeah. So it feels like Rachel is the player that everybody feels like is in play and in play for them.
Right.
Which I think gives her a lot of chances and power. Again, also could very much easily make her dangerous. But she's shown in the past to have an awareness of when things don't feel right, and she of course has a tool to do something about that.
It's a fun juxtaposition, like the scenes of Andy talking about how like he's so connected and he's got all these like great inroads with all these other people, but Rachel's not talking about it, but it's roughly, as you just mentioned, in the same place, right? Like she has these same sort of connections where there's a bunch of different paths for her, just as there are for Andy. She's just not the one giving us confessionals talking about how great she's doing at doing those things.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think she's very well positioned right now. Whether it ultimately means she wins or not, I don't know, but I'm just saying she's looking good right now.
Yeah. I'd say at this moment, she feels like the only player who could win this season. And I'd be like, she played a really good game.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. Like, I think Caroline could get there if she, does stuff from here on out. And I actually really liked her reasoning and to clarify, it's not, I don't believe, about getting credit for voting out Gabe. It's that Gabe's presence in the game would forever prevent her from gaining credit for anything.
Agreed.
So I like that. I like the presence of mind. It's like, well, I'm not here to play Gabe's game, which is great because, frankly, from the first episode, I was like, oh, this guy, I wouldn't want to play his game either,
Seriously.
right? So, like, I think she could get to a point where it's like, oh, yeah, she was solid. But it's like, I feel like we haven't really had an impressive winner since, like, Tony, but, that's a bit of an asterisk. So then before that, frankly, it still might be Tony. I'd have to do the math of when that all was. Like, did Jeremy come after that or whatever? But and I know, like, it's your mileage may vary. I'm sure there's plenty of people would be like, no, D was really great, or others. But for me, like, I feel like the post 40 era, just the structure of the game, whether it be interference from all these little side quests and advantages, or just the kind of the meta of the game, is really tamped down on like, wow, that person really did the thing.
Right.
And I mean, I don't even know if Rachel would qualify, but she's the only person I can see that could come close to that right now.
Yep, exactly. She's the only one where I could be like, I can see that as being a good, like, not only a good game played, but also something where I could like see the steps along the way. And I'm like, yeah. She's made the right moves and positioned herself in the right ways where it would be gratifying to see that rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Teeny, I'd be happy to see win because I enjoy them, but like, they have yet to do anything, right? So,
yeah. Actually kind of felt like, last season, like I was happy with the winner, but I was also like, really? I mean,
see, I feel like if Charlie had won, we would have been like, wow, like because they'd also like really felt like they were like lining it up so that we were really seeing what he had been doing. You know? Whereas when it was Kenzie, it was like, okay, yeah, I get it, it's fine. You know,
right.
like I didn't object to it at all,
right.
But it was very much a vibes based win,
yes,
which is perfectly legitimate in Survivor, but it's not like impressive for me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think Kenzie's a very cool person. I was rooting for Kenzie too, but it was like, oh no, I mean, sure. I don't know that it was the most impressive game that I watched, but fine, whatever. The jury can decide to vote however they'd like. So, hey, really briefly here, we did get a Kyle moment, which I didn't actually hear because my freaking kids were talking too much. But Kyle was supposedly always talking about Shania, which I can only assume was, a lot of people think that might be someone in his family, like a child or his spouse or whatever. But let's be real, it's probably Shania Twain, right?
Yeah, I suspect he's sitting there like doing like song naming competitions, and we just didn't get it. But they couldn't clear it.
Right, you can't do that. It's then going to become a bit if they're just showing the song naming competition again, right? Like, no, we don't need you all doing this shit every season. So, in honor of Kyle's love of Shania Twain, I feel like we should do top 3 Shania Twain songs this week.
Absolutely. Frankly, we should probably just spend the rest of the season just covering off all the great Canadian divas, right? We've gotten Alanis. We're doing Shania Twain tonight, music in a list. So like, I
mean,
if only. So then we reserve some time for like Celine Dion, Avril Lavigne. Like Avril would cover the other great Canadian artist who was felled mid-career by like Lyme disease, and it's so fucking weird. We have 2. But were you aware that's what happened with Shania Twain?
No,
she had Lyme disease and couldn't like sing.
Really?
That's why she kind of went away. Yeah, it like damaged her vocal cords. She had to get surgery on them.
Oh my god!
And yeah, same thing with like it's crazy. It's crazy that it happened once, but twice to our biggest star because Avril had the same problem.
Wow,
just so many ticks up in here. Yeah.
Wow, she should have stuck with the American Skater Boys because skate parks don't have any ticks.
There you go.
So it's all concrete. You'd be fine. So
anyway, yes.
But really quickly though, because here's a fun fact. I did know that Shania was Canadian, of course, but fun fact I learned about Shania Twain is she is the daughter of famed American novelist Mark Twain. Found that out when I did an AI search.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. No, let's do our top 3 Shania Twain songs. And I will let you go first as the Canadian of the bunch.
All right. Important when listing these to get the punctuation correct. Because she's big on punctuation in her songs. So my number 3 is up! UP exclamation mark. So this album came out when I was working in a music store. It was heavy rotation because like all Shania albums after her first one that nobody likes, including herself, she just sold units. This one was her least selling of the 3, and that's because it only sold 13 million copies.
Oh, can you imagine?
She had 3 albums go diamond.
It's insane.
Yeah. So, it's peppy. She doesn't have a huge vocal range, and that's fine because it works within. She knows how to use the key changes in her choruses to keep them fun and all that. So, up is my number 3. How about you?
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the punctuation thing because there's several songs
Yes.
Just it feels like
parentheses, like all of it.
Thing from The Simpsons, like just go in and red marker this, put some new punctuation in there, and totally change the dynamic of the song. Yeah, I should note that I just generally don't like country music, but she's much more poppy. And yeah, like I was surprised.
The queen of country pop.
I'm saying, like, I was surprised how many Shania Twain songs I actually knew when you suggested this as a topic. I was like, oh, yeah, I know some of those.
So today, sorry, and I'll let you get into it, but today is probably the first time in my life that I like actively chose to listen to Shania Twain. Yet I could sing word for word many of her songs. They were inescapable. And obviously, even some more because I'm a Canadian and, I worked in places. But yeah, like people cannot conceive of how big a star she was. If if you're a modern, like younger person, again, we talked about this with Alanis, and Alanis didn't approach Shania numbers.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is like, I don't think there has been a time in my life where I was like, I want to listen to Shania Twain. But I, just like you, I could probably sing along to many of her songs because they were fucking ubiquitous. So my number 3, You're Still the One, just because, speaking of ubiquity, my God, late 90s, that was the pop song for, it felt like several years, especially in like, TV shows and little romantic moments or fucking proms and whatever sort of
first wedding dances.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those sorts of things where you're expected to do a romantic song, like that felt like top of the list.
Yeah. So that's my number 2.
Okay.
It's a really sweet song. I was listening to today, and frankly, now in my life now, it actually means more, or like I relate more. Like You're Still the One. At that time, I'm like 1998. You're like, oh, I'm still like have the hots for this person when we're young. Yeah. Right. So, so this was off of her third album, Come On Over, which I just want to tell people a few stats here, since my numbers, my song's the same as yours. It has sold worldwide 40 million copies. That's a 4 and a 0 million.
Right.
Physical items of this album. So that makes her, and this album, obviously the number 1 Canadian album by a Canadian ever. It's the number 1 country album of all time. This is the number 1 solo female album of all time. It's the 8th highest selling album of all time, of which only one other one came out in the post SoundScan era. So anybody knows that they were just making shit up before they were like counting. And then they finally started counting because of bar scanners and stuff, and realizing, oh wow, rap and country albums actually sell well. And we've been they do. This album had 12 fucking singles. 12 singles. Isn't that an entire album? Like at a certain point, like, I guess it's just so they can be played on the radio and stuff. And it's like, yeah, we got it. But no, like, again, like I was there when this happened. It was always, but 40 million copies is insane.
Oh, if you want to melt your brain, look at the like Michael Jackson album number.
Yeah, that's like it's 68.
Oh,
but again, like he's pre-SoundScan, so I mean, I feel like it's legit. There's never, ever, and will never, ever be a pop star on the level of Michael Jackson. Right. Like you could go to some third world country and like bring up and just say you're American, and they'd be like Michael Jackson. Like just monoculture doesn't exist like that. It never had before. Yeah, man, 40 million copies. Insane.
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
All right, so my number 2 is that, don't, exclamation point, parentheses, impress me, close parentheses, much, semicolon. It actually doesn't say that. It just, that don't impress me much. So I like this one just for the like dismissive nature of it. Like, she's rattling off all these things about men, and she's like, oh yeah, well, you got that? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm good. Which, if a woman such as herself happened to sell $40 million or 40 million albums, you would assume yeah, at that point, it's probably going to take a lot to impress her. So it rang true. It's like, yeah, no, you should be dismissive because you've earned it. So we always appreciate earned arrogance on this show. And this song very much bleeds earned arrogance.
Yes, I left that off because I think the line that everybody remembers that song, maybe most people's favorite line, always rung is just a little too cute for me. Though, so you're Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much. I don't know. It's just so. I mean, the song's catchy as hell. I can't deny, but that always like, and her like lyrics always. There's always a bit of playfulness to them. They're both basic, but good. Like I can't, man. Like that meant her album before this was 20 million. Like it wasn't just a one hit thing,
right?
So yeah, I didn't have that. Instead, my number one. I wonder, probably yours too, but we'll see. Man, I feel like a woman. 2 exclamation points on that one.
That's the one. It is the number one for me as well.
Yeah, that's the other great thing, and probably also what led to a lot of her success was kind of the female empowerment angle of her songs. Yep. And this, was even the one before with like "Whose Bed Is Your Boots Been Under." So the thing, she's not that, she's very poppy country, but that's clearly like a country ass song. But yeah, this one had it all, and it also just for me shows how simple like music can be. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but like really what makes this song is the very simple chorus of oh, 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 right. Like just like 3 chord changes. It's not even like high progression. And that's it. That's all. You build a song around that. And that's all you need. And that's kind of what blows my mind sometimes about music. It's just like, it's just a simple moment like that. And frankly, that's probably why Up is number 3. She just went back to that well, but like made it instead of like, just sounds and made it into a word. Up, 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 it fucking works, man.
Yep. A lot of people try to make it more complicated than it is. Sometimes it's just fun. And that's all the song is. And I think I saw the video when I was
the video is indelible.
I'd forgotten until I hit play, and I'm like, oh yeah, this one. Like it's referencing an older song. I think it's Robert Palmer. Yeah. Like she gender swaps the video that he'd done, and it was like, oh shit, that's very clever. So yeah, good song, very catchy, and also just all over the place when it came out. So yep, that's number 1.
That was the 8th single off this fucking album. At that point, and people not just like, yeah, I know that song, I know this whole thing, because they had the album again, 40 million copies. Yet it was huge. Now, here's the thing that I learned today, blew my mind. She's actually never had a number 1 single.
How is that possible?
Yeah, the highest she got was number 2. I can't remember the song. It's one of her ballads, and it was it wasn't able to surpass Too Close by the R&B band Next, aka the song about getting a boner when dancing with people.
Now it's all coming back to me.
Which in some ways instructive, right? It's like, you didn't need the next album, Speaking as someone who probably had it, you just needed the boner song, so you bought the single. Whereas Shania, again, she's releasing 12 singles on, everybody's buying the album anyway.
Right. Hey, one more thing. We mentioned some fan mail earlier. Let's do another one because there was an important moment in this show, and let's address it via fan mail. I got it in front of me here. So it's, Hi, Purple Rock Podcast. I ran to find this number to ask, how do you feel about the return of the eponymous Purple Rock to Survivor? I'm West Coast, so I'm sure I'm not the first fan to sprint to ask you that. Sincerely, lesbian instincts, parentheses. Yes, I know my team is doing so badly. LMAO, close parentheses.
And I'm going to assume they mean their fantasy team, but based on recent election news,
the
team is not, it just had better moments. Hopefully there's going to be a comeback soon.
Yeah, first of all.
Oh, we kid. The world is awful.
So, first of all,
yes,
you were actually the first one to race to Texas. It was not
the fan mail.
Yes, first one.
Our comment post had about 8 hits on when it happened. Yeah.
Yes. And I also texted our theme song writer, Mike Hirsch, immediately. I was like, oh my God, Purple Rock. So also, how am I not going to read fan mail from someone who named themselves Lesbian Instincts after I told you that if you want to be identified, you'd have to give us a name? But yes, absolutely. Shout out to you, Lesbian Instincts. And shout out to us, because Purple Rock was mentioned on Survivor. It is funny that they change the colored rock. Like, I don't really know why. Like, I'm appreciating that they brought back a classic, but they do seem to change the colors all the time. And it's like, why? Wouldn't you just pick a color that sticks out and is good for TV and it's easy to see? Like, say purple, for instance.
For instance.
Yeah.
They've had purple rocks in recent seasons for picking teams or like this, but this one actually, and like some people were like, hey, it's Purple Rock. I'm like, spare me your pity, fucking Purple Rock. Like, we named ourselves after a powerful object in Survivor history that had not come up in 10 years, and then came up literally the season that we started podcasting. Yeah. But was not purple, it's like, oh, they went to rocks and it wasn't purple. Now the legend is, and who knows, if you don't know the truth, print the legend. It was a mistake because everybody reaching into the bag could feel the one that had paint on it. Yeah. So it made sense that they didn't continue with purple and they just have like colors that occur in nature and just, polish them. But this time was different. And what was different is they didn't just say choose the other colored rock or anything like that. They clearly on the show, in the write-up that Kyle is reading, in the tree mail, Purple Rock.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm counting it. It's a shout out. It's a shout out.
Absolutely is.
Hey, look, I mean, obviously there's a bit of tongue in the cheek here, but straight up, there are people involved in the production of Survivor that are aware that this podcast exists. I'm not saying they've ever listened,
right,
or anything like that, but like Probst has a podcast. Like if you're just doing kind of cursory, like what's like our fan, like kind of influence and fan communities, we've been doing this shit for a long time, right? So like if you're just searching lists of Survivor podcasts, we're gonna come up. Frankly, from the time we started, I think Rob's the only one that's still around.
Yeah. I mean, I stuck around just out of spite to outlast some of the other ones. So,
and we outlasted them all. I think, people we're not fully aware. So in comments, if there's another long-term running, but like all the ones that I remember from when we started out, which we didn't look when we first started. And I was like, oh wait, this is a crowded field, whatever. We're not even going to do this for very long. So no, I genuinely believe that they are aware of the existence of a Survivor podcast called Purple Rock.
Well, I mean, if you Google like Survivor season rankings, like we are usually right at the top of that list or very close to it.
They're doing stuff for the fans all the time. And I'll say, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the acknowledgement show because it counts. Shout out to our show.
I appreciate it. I mean, and they cast a John or an Andy on this season and a John technically, although they didn't fucking spell it right, but still. A John and Andy on a season, a shout out to the Purple Rock. Like, come on, right?
This is the Purple Rockiest season they've ever had.
Oh my God. And it's going to fall like mid at best in our rankings.
That's a shout out. That's an homage, really.
Sure.
If you're looking for just like a mid-level Survivor fan podcast.
Yes.
We got you. If you're looking for excellence, I mean, I don't know that it exists in this entire community, but definitely not here.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this thing up?
No, I think we got it.
All right. You can find all of our stuff on purplerockpodcast.com. Fantasy League is getting close to the finish line, as is this season. And as always, if you want to send us a text, as more than one person did that we shouted out this week, if you want me to recognize you by name, you're going to have to give me a name because we don't get any like identifying information about you. I can be like, oh, that's Sam. I don't fucking know who you are. Give me a name. Just like my friend Lesbian Instincts did this week. Now,
shout out to Lesbian Instincts. Hit the theme music.
This is the copyright free outro.